Alrighty, good day and welcome. My name is Mr. JB and today we're going to be going through another PhotoPea tutorial. Today we are going through creating the initial detail light. So if you know what that is, you know what that is. Basically just creating light streams that are coming from our object, for this specifically from taillights. So to begin, as always, we create a duplicate of our layer. We are going to turn off our background, and then from here we are going to start dealing with our process. So we want to end up going over to our rectangle object and right clicking, and we're going to select the ellipse tool. We want to have our fill, and for this we are going to have red. We don't need to worry about adjusting the stroke for this, and we're just going to create one of the circles. Now it might be better if we zoom in so that way we can see our stuff a little bit better. And back to my ellipse tool and just kind of creating this circle that'll roughly match where my circle actually is for the taillight on this vehicle. Now I've got my shape, I've got it red. It looks awful. That's okay. We're going to get there. It's going to all make sense eventually. We're going to change our design in terms of this drop down menu. We're going to change that to overlay. We'll see that it just kind of lightened it up a little bit, but we still got a lot to do. It's already a smart object, which is very important. We are going to go to effects, and then we are going to go to inner glow. Inner glow selected, we're just going to move this off to the side, and we are going to select something that is more orangey. Now if your lights were originally yellow, you want this to be something a little bit different. It can be lighter or darker. Now for me, I'm just going to go until I hit some form of an orangey color, and I'm going to drop that there. Awesome. Now when I'm looking at these numbers, I want to have my opacity somewhere around 75. I want to have my noise somewhere around 0. I'm going to end up adjusting my spread up a little bit so that way I can end up seeing a little bit more of what that is. Adjusting my size a little bit, again the same idea, so that way I can see some more of what this is. Drop that down a little bit, and then my range I'm just going to leave at I'm going to drop that down a little bit just so that way you can see I've made a slight adjustment to what that is. And then I'm going to up my jitter just to create a little bit more of that stagnation, that funky effect. And with that, I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to do this one more time down in the bottom right to effect, and we're going to go to outer glow. Now this one we want to have it be the exact same color that our regular light is intended to be. So for me that's this bright red, and I'm going to select that as the bright red. Now for my opacity and everything, 75 is great for where we end up having that. You can have that a bit more if you want it brighter, just depending on what your light is. I'm going to leave my noise at 0. I'm going to up my spread a little bit, just so that way it starts to glow out. It'll make sense a little bit later. Our size, I'm going to jump up just a smidgen. I'm actually going to drop that down. I only want a little bit of this glow. I'm going to leave my range where it is, and I'm going to leave my jitter where it is. Now if I zoom out, you'll see I've got a pretty nice glow in what this is. We're going to make some duplicates and then we're going to move on. So Control J, I'm going to make 4 duplicate layers, so that way I can move these. I'm going to grab my move tool, grab it somewhere in the middle, and drag them all over. That way I can adjust these and do everything that I need to do. Want to have them roughly as centered as we can. For me, I've got this nice line in the middle of my tail lights, so this makes it a little bit easier. Oh, we grabbed it too close to the edge. If you're having issues grabbing, you might need to zoom in. That might make things a little bit easier so you can see stuff. Now I've got my 4 tail lights. They look pretty cool, but we're not done yet. We need to create that line effect that ends up having an initial D for when they're driving down the street. So to do that, I'm just going to end up selecting my by my ellipse tool, right clicking that and selecting line. I'm going to end up having my fill as 1, and I am going to end up having my stroke as 0. Now I'm going to have this as red, and you want to end up following the lines of kind of the road for this. So see along here, I'm going to select somewhere around the center. I'm just going to drag that, and I'm kind of matching the curb that's down here. From here, I'm going to adjust this a little bit. I'm going to go to my effects, and I'm going to go to outer glow. Boom. With that, we're going to adjust some of these numbers. I'm going to jump up my opacity quite a bit. And then I'm going to leave my noise where it is. I'm going to adjust my spread out quite a big chunk, somewhere in the 60s-ish range. Now, depending on the size of what your taillight looks like, you'll have to adjust this accordingly. I'm going to adjust my size just a little bit, somewhere around the 15, 13-ish. I'm going to leave my range where it is, and excellent. Now, we can still see that line pretty straight through the middle. We don't want to have that, so I'm going to go back to shape 2, and I'm going to change the way my overlay looks. I'm going to change that to screen. Now you don't see that line through anymore. We just have this light beam going through to kind of imitate the brake pedal effect in Initial D. Now, just like we did previously, we're going to make 4 duplicates. This one is a little trickier to deal with. You got to zoom in pretty far because you have to grab right in that single pixel to drag it over to do everything that you need to do. Now, when you're dealing with these, you might need to adjust the angles, and you might need to adjust the length. On this one, I need to adjust the length, but I'm going to drag them all into place first, and then I can work on them from there. So I'm going to zoom out, and now when I'm adjusting this one, I'm going to press and hold Shift so that way I can just lengthen it, but it doesn't really line up with where I need it to line up. So I'm going to make some adjustments, rotating it and lengthening that. Now I know that this one that was over here was a little bit funny as well. So same idea, I'm just going to lengthen it, rotate it so that way it matches the angle of our curb, and then line that up with the middle. Now with that, you can leave it right here. You've got those line effects going through. It looks really cool, it looks really good, but we can end up adjusting stuff a little bit further by going back to our line tool. So we're going to create an extra little line effect. I'm going to have my line selected. I need to change my width to about 1 over here. And then I'm just going to end up drawing a few little lines. Now they don't need to be in any particular place. We want to make sure that our color is white. And that's going to kind of drop a few of these little lines in here. Again, make them sporadic, make them slightly different sizes. Again, we do want them to follow the curb. Kind of like how on this we can kind of see little swipey bits. This is going to kind of create a little bit more of like the speed effect for our taillights, doing what they're doing and more along the lines of the Initial D lights. Now again, if your lights are a little bit off or your lines are a little bit off, we can always go in and we can adjust them, erase, Control C and whatever. But with that, that's where we've left our lights for today. Pretty straightforward. It's really just a couple of techniques and then multiplying what this stuff is and just keeping in mind what your ground looks like. And with that, that's everything for today. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned something. Have a wonderful day. Take care and be safe.